Hello, good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to have us this evening. You're all welcome to the second leg of Public Service HR Mentorship Series for the month of July. What an interesting day. A day that I've been looking up to, and I thank God the day is here. You're all welcome. Good evening, everyone. And I want to wish us all happy evening. It's my pleasure to have us here again. You're all welcome. So we are here again doing the same business that we know to do. What do we do here? We shape HR and we elevate public service. We shape HR and we would definitely elevate the public service. So it's my pleasure to have us here again. I'm so excited. I'm elated because of the fact that today is a special day and we have someone so special, dear to me on the platform today, the person that will be speaking to us in the next 1 hour. So before I would do any kind of introduction this evening, as usual, I just want us to look at what we normally do before we bring up our facilitator. Okay, so don't forget that when you don't shape things, eh, you are invariably saying you want to create room for chaos. So you want to create room for ineffectiveness. So that's why we want to shape HR in the Lagos State Public Service. And in doing so, you and I will know, will take cognizance of the fact that we are going to have knowledgeable and strategic and as well as impactful HR on their roles. That's what we do here. And once we do this, we will eventually get the quality of service that we deliver in public service, we get it improved. And that's our vision on this platform. So as usual, let me quickly go to my opening charge this evening. You know, during the week, something crossed my mind, and I want to share what crossed my mind with all of us on this platform. You're all welcome once again. And that opening charge will center on this topic that says, no one remains small forever. No one remains small forever. And remember that the seed that we plant today, when you plant a seed, that seed would surely not bring forth fruit tomorrow. It's not possible. But in due time, when you nurture this seed, the seed is exposed to sunlight and is exposed to consistency. Definitely this seed will go to become a tree tomorrow. Exactly the same way your career is. Exactly the same way your purpose in life is, as well as your potential. You may be small today, like I was before. I was small, but I am not what I was before. I am someone else again today. You may even feel unseen. Nobody sees you, or unappreciated, or underappreciated, or just one of those things. I want to tell you today, that's why we are here. That's what we are doing here. Growth is inevitable for those who stayed intentional. Remember the last session we were here, I was talking about inevitability of growth. So if you keep showing up, you keep learning, you keep serving with excellence, keep stretching beyond your comfort zone. Just like rivers don't stay streams forever. You too, you will rise. you impact, and you as well as influence your immediate environment, and as well as also by extension influence the people around you. But you have to remain faithful to the process. You must remain faithful to the process. You must remain faithful to the process. So when doubt comes in at any point in time, knocking, when the journey feels so slow, please remember that I said no one remains small forever. No, it's not possible if you keep growing. Let this be your mindset tonight, even as we gather to learn, as we gather to keep learning on this platform, that you are growing beyond your current level. You are not going to remain who you are today forever. And in due time, you become a reference point to not just a participant, not just a mentee on this platform. That's my charge for you today. If you are going to be intentional about growth, whether in your career, either in your spiritual life, or even in the potentials that you have, keep doing what? Keep growing. And that's all I have for us today. Keep growing. Inevitability of growth, which is now going to make us never to remain small. That's my charge for us tonight. Remain growing. Remain focused. And I tell you, you will never remain the same. So on this note, I will quickly just introduce my mentor, the one who God has used in so many ways to shape me. And what I am today, I give God the praise, and as well as this man I'm about to introduce. Thank you for all you do, sir. I appreciate you always. So I'm talking about Dr. Oluyemi Adeosun. Dr. Oluyemi Adeosun is a top performing, accomplished, and skilled human resources executive and researcher with over 22 years of experience across high-profile industries, including power, oil and gas, telecommunication, fintech, okay, broadcasting, ICT, real estate, advertising, academia, consulting, and volunteer work. Mr. Adeosun runs a YouTube channel called Oluyemi Adeosun with over 6,450 followers, which focuses on HR domain knowledge. Okay, he's also the pioneer of HR mentorship, a group of over 7,000 HR professionals. He is an awardee of the Faith Institute prestigious Senior Research Fellow 2024 to 2026 and a certified career coach. He is also a full member of Chartered Institute of Personnel Management. He's an elected governing council member. He's a senior professional human resource. He's a member of Senior Professional Human Resources International, Global Practitioner Human Resources. Okay, if you look at his academic background, you understand why this man is my mentor. Okay, I am not going to say much on that. We are all looking at his profile, and it's enough for us to see and to deduce that yes, this man wants to be my mentor. Okay, this is the person I look at him, and I always want to tap from his wealth of knowledge. If you go to his YouTube channel, you will never be bored. Always you want to listen to him because of the knowledge you're going to take away from that YouTube channel. So if you look at it very well, you will understand what I'm trying to say. I don't want to overflow this issue. In fact, he's a board member of almost 5 organizations. Mr. Adeosun, Dr. Adeosun, my oga, my mentor, you are welcome to this platform this evening, and we wait patiently
Thank you so much.
as we tap from your words of knowledge. You're welcome. Olaitan, please take over from here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
For this session. Thank you for the warmth and the introduction. Let me say, by way of a disclaimer, that I've not directly worked completely in the public sector. So I've worked in, my closest work experience has been with a PPP, public-private partnership. In other words, combination of the government and the private sector. However, my father was a civil servant, retired, 35 years. Same for my mother. And my wife is a civil servant. She's in level 17, Lagos State Government. So I have very close affinity and affiliation. And I've also, on an ongoing basis, interfacing with the government at different levels. This year, at least, I've trained 2 or 3 Lagos State parastatals. This year, in fact, in the last 2 weeks, I've trained, for example, just to mention Nigerian Port Authority. I've trained Nigerian Social and Insurance Trust Fund, just to mention a few things. Also, you may not agree with everything I've said. That's not my intention. So if I say 10 things and you agree with 3 or 4, it's okay. Especially if the 2 or 3 or 4 you agree with can improve your career, can improve your service delivery, that will be fine. So don't let what you don't agree with interfere with what you agree with. The important thing is what you may not agree with, 1 or 2 other people may agree with it and it will help them. So I'm not speaking authoritatively, I'm not speaking in a totalitarian manner. I'm not saying everything I say is cast in stone and must be used. Also, just so you know, I may say 1 or 2 things to you today that you will not agree with, or you may not be ready or willing to use. But in 2 years' time, you'll remember it and then it will be useful then. All right, so let's go ahead with this journey. We are looking at becoming the HR public service demands. All right, a journey of personal growth. When Dr. Bola Bokudero gave me this topic, I'm like, wow, this topic is robust. And I determined and decided to give it my best shot. All right, so in any modern civil service, and by modern, I mean global civil service, in any government, anywhere in the world, be it in advanced countries, emerging countries, developing countries, the HR component of the civil service cannot be underestimated. In fact, technically, the head of service is technically like HR, for lack of a better word, let me say the HR director of the entire civil service. Even if there's a bigger word, I would have wanted to say maybe HR, give me a bigger title. It doesn't matter the person's background, but by that time, you are like in HR. And all the parastatals, all the ministries, all the departments, we have HR. I'm fully aware that in some ministries or some parastatals, we may not necessarily call them HR. We may call them maybe admin, personnel. The nomenclature doesn't matter. What matters is the portfolio of service, of support, of programs that they are putting in place. Now, again, I'm trying to set the context, and I won't say what you don't know, and I'm not saying anything condescendingly or out of disrespect. I am part of the system. I just told you my wife is part of the system. I'm proud of what we have achieved so far. But we know that there's still room for improvement for us as a nation, both in the private and in the public sector. All right. But there are certain contexts that even the public service is situated in. our economic volatility in recent times, inflation, foreign exchange, the price of naira to dollar has gone up. And all this affects the productivity of the employee that we manage, both in the public and in the private sector. And the yearnings of the citizenry, as the citizens of, for example, Lagos State, they are sophisticated, they are largely educated. Many of them have traveled out. So the average Lagosian, for example, is also a global citizen. So they don't only compare Lagos State, so they won't compare, for example, Lagos State Civil Service with Osun State, where I'm from. They will be comparing you with when they went to New York, when they went to Manchester. Do you understand your dilemma? You have an enlightened citizenry. So that's why no matter how well you do, which significantly is even better than many states in Nigeria, don't let us mention, because I love them, they are my friends and partners. It will look like some people are like, they want more. It's not like you are not trying. We have global appetite. We are benchmarking you with the rest of the globe. I just need us to appreciate this. Again, and this is not necessarily you're doing as a professional, as a person. There's this perceived, I'm trying to choose my words carefully, perceived distrust of governance generally in Nigeria and Africa. Maybe because of several factors. People will say, oh, politicians, they promise and fail, or they are not living up to expectation. They will promise us El Dorado, and then we'll be seeing Shege. You get. And then the civil service is now seen as the vehicle of delivery for the political class. So there are some things that the political class are doing well or not doing well, and the civil servants are like, you may not be able to get back to the government, in quotes, but you can see the civil servants, whether it is your advice that has been implemented or not. So when somebody is coming to you for service, either as an external person or an internal person, you need to put your best foot forward, because there may be some slight deficit. Again, it is not your fault, but all of us as individual professionals have a role to play to continue to build our hard-earned credibility and trust. Thankfully, almost everywhere, the civil service reform vibe is top-notch. For example, Lagos, over the years, have done a lot. I remember there was even a time when in this Lagos State, for example, they even brought in some Lagosians and Nigerians back from abroad just to come and join. Lagos has invested massively and heavily in training, and still doing so. Like I said, I've personally been a faculty in one or two of such many numerous trainings. And you see, these civil service reforms that is ongoing even places a higher demand on our HR competencies, on our HR capabilities. So we need to become more so that we can deliver more. A quick question, ladies and gentlemen, as I attempt to set the context for this session, is that what do you think the Nigerian public expect from civil servants today? And more in particular, what do they expect from HR specifically? And before somebody will say, Oluyemi, what are you talking about? Yes, HR is supporting the what? The government's business, or the business of government. Who is the government supporting? It's the citizens. So HR, my first suggestion to you is that think about the customer of your customer. Your customers are the civil servants in the ministry, in the parastatal, in the organization where you work. But those civil servants are serving and servicing each other, one department providing support for another department and vice versa, but also ultimately servicing, supporting Lagosians, Nigerians in general. Because once you have that in mind, you begin to appreciate why you need to up the ante, why you need to go the extra mile, because already you are going the extra mile. You just need to go extra. double extra, ladies and gentlemen. The impact of HR transformation on any parastatal, any agency, any ministry cannot be what overemphasized. HR, admin, personnel, we can drive process efficiency by as much as 60% by how we handle our people management. You know, when we insist and try to push for higher merit-based decisions and actions, we drive efficiency, we drive productivity even higher. Because when people know that when what they do over time at the right time will count for them, they will get, for example, promoted, they will get opportunities for nominations for trainings, they will get to sit on certain committees, that the thought process they bring to the table reflects in the strategic agenda of the state, of the government. It begins to make more meaning. And it is our job as HR professionals, practitioners in the public sector to achieve this for their employees at large. Again, there will be a boost, a positive boost in employee engagement. Let me just say this very quickly, my personal opinion, and based on my experience. You know, growing up with a public servant father, it was a very common sight that you wake up like 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning to go and ease yourself. And you will see my father doing office work, a civil servant. Just for context, he used to work with Nigerian Institute of Social and Economic Research, NISA, in Ibadan. Meanwhile, maybe around 2 o'clock, which is working hours, he can come to pick us in school, take us home, then he will go back to work. You know, if you are not careful, you can see him at 2 o'clock going to pick his children, but you won't see him at 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. when he's doing office work. Because he knows that he may need 1 or 2 hours to do school runs, but he still must deliver on his job. There are many things we do today as civil servants that the general public are not aware of. Take the teaching hospital, take the general hospital. I speak to these agencies in particular because my spouse worked there. They work hard, as in spending their personal resources. They go the extra mile, discretionary effort. Beyond the pay they get, they labor. I've seen my wife and her colleagues contribute money for patients. I've seen her cry over the death of a patient. Please, is the government paying you to cry? Why am I saying this? You guys are doing a lot. And one of the things we can do and we should do, for lack of a better word, is can we come up with like testimonials, you know, maybe on our various government agencies and websites. Can we put up things that our employees are doing? Thank God, I think just 2 or 3 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, at the federal level, there was a Federal Civil Service Award. Some employees got cars, cash, and different gifts. Please, I know we are humble. Now, one thing that is obvious is that, and I'm saying this very respectfully, that civil service is a calling. Civil service is something like, forgive me, but the closest thing I can relate it to is like a pastoral work or an imam. You don't become a pastor or imam because you want money. Don't misunderstand me. I don't say if you're a pastor or imam that your financial and your material needs should not be met, but you go there because you want to serve. Civil service is exactly in that light, because government parastatal may have the biggest opportunity to impact positively on the citizenry, and you go there with a mind to serve. Now, the landscape is what? Is changing. The landscape is changing. I'll say that again. The landscape is changing from the traditional conventional HR to the modern HR. And some of the transitions include moving from paper-based process to digital as much as possible, or increasingly moving from, so to speak, just rule enforcement to culture shaping, moving from reactive compliance to proactive strategy, moving from transactional or transaction focus to transformation leadership. Then we are moving from administrative task to strategic partnership. Just to say that some of these things, for example, administrative tasks, is not that we won't do it anymore, but in addition to the administrative execution, we will also be contributing directly to the mandate of our ministries, to the mandate of our agencies. When they are coming up with strategies and programs and initiatives, HR, admin, we are there. We will also understand and appreciate the value chain of whatever ministry, whatever agency, such that when you are talking to a third party, somebody not in the ministry, they should think, are you like the CEO or the DG of the parastatal? Why? You understand the language of your ministry, you understand the purpose, you understand the operations, and if necessary, you can almost go and sit in for a colleague in almost any other department, especially that sits on the core mandate of the ministry. Ladies and gentlemen, there are 3 critical transformations that we need to make. We need to move from just being an administrator to a strategic partner. We also need to move from just being a rule enforcer to a culture shaper. And then we need to move from being a bystander to a change champion. In other words, don't let us have this victim mentality. Don't let us think, oh, it's only the people at the top. Yes, I appreciate the hierarchy, I appreciate the bureaucracy, but bureaucracy is not a bad thing. Ladies and gentlemen, I beat my chest to say that bureaucracy is there to protect. Imagine if in medicine, doctors or nurses can do anything anyhow. What do you think will happen to the lives of patients? We'll be dying like chicken. So when people say bureaucracy is not a negative word. Bureaucracy just means processes, policies that have been tried and tested and allows for what? Sustainability. Yes, I appreciate and understand that there may be need to be slightly more flexible, more agile from an innovation perspective. But from a sustainable perspective, we also need to balance. Ladies and gentlemen, at this intersection, I would like to take a short break.
About the critical transformations.
He's a co-host now, so okay, you can continue now.
Okay, sir.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. That was a strategic break so that we can balance work-life integration. Ladies and
You're
gentlemen.
welcome back.
And thank you for, I had some of your conversations, which ties very critically into the conversation. So it even makes the flow even more seamless. So I was speaking to the 3 critical transformation areas, from administrator to strategic partner. In other words, we are aligning with our MDA goals. We are sitting at the policy table. Not only that, we understand what is being said on the table and we are contributing on the table. So we are not just responsible for providing tea break, refreshments for the meeting. We also provide intellectual input. We provide technical input. So if, for example, you are in medicine, I know, or hospital, I know you didn't read medicine, but you must talk that the doctors, nurses will say, sir, are you a doctor? If you are in maybe agriculture, for example, you should know about maybe crops, plants, livestock, that even vet doctors will like, sorry, are you a vet doctor dropout? You are so knowledgeable. And you only get to that level based on passion, based on interest. It doesn't matter whether they transfer you from ministry to ministry. Even if you spend 1 year somewhere or 2 years somewhere, immerse yourself so that you can drive the talent strategy of the ministry, of the parastatal intentionally within the ambit of the civil service regulations. When we talk about transitioning or transiting from rule enforcer to culture shaper, we are talking about embedding ethics accountability, and service excellence. In other words, you are driving consciously organizational behavior. Look, for example, you put your foot down that here, as long as I am here, we don't do Ogata or Gauta or Alarakwe. Here, we don't do Iṣẹ́ Ìjọba kì í ṣe iṣẹ́ àṣelàgùn. Ladies and gentlemen, some of us on this call are from the Southwest Yoruba region. There's what we call Omoluabi. We know that when you labor, anywhere you labor, you will get rewarded, both in that institution and by providence. Check, and please quote me. Check. I want to use an aspect of the civil service. Check most teachers that you know. When you are young, check their children. They are almost all doing well. Please, I need one or two people to confirm this in the call. Just look back. Maybe our parents or the people that we know. Now, the teachers may not have a lot of money. They may not have 5 cars. They may not have land in Ikoyi. But check, almost all the teachers I know, some of them, all their children are abroad now. Isn't that a type of reward? Their labor has not wasted. And they taught we, other people's children, as if we were their own. Anybody that does not put in their best, and we, the HR, is our job to make everyone put in their best. Of course, it means we must be putting our best. Because whatever productivity we are trying to drive, we must reflect it. So we must create an environment of integrity, continuous learning. We must drive feedback, organizational culture as much as possible. And let me say this. So if we are running feedback, and just this hypothetical, please, at 50%, your job may not be to take it to 100%. Just move the needle from 50% to 60%. Progress. Please, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not driving for perfection anywhere. I'm just driving for what? Progress, for improvement. Take something from 70% to 80%. Take something else from 65% to 70 to 80%, and so on and so forth. I hope you get what I mean. Because if you think, in quotes, the challenges are so overwhelming, and then you now enter inertia, you enter a party and do nothing. No. If all of us do a bit, cumulatively, everything will get better over time. Don't tell us what your predecessor did not do. That is in the past. What can you do? Don't let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do. When we talk about moving from being a bystander, a spectator, to a change champion, we're not playing victim here. What can you do? What change can you bring to the table? How can you enhance the welfare of your colleagues? How can you champion knowledge sharing sessions? See what we are doing today. I'm not sure the state is paying anybody to run this, but look at the number of people who are here learning. There are so many things you can do that is not too difficult to get approval for. Some you may not even need approval like that, because check, you are not contravening any civil service rules. It is when you say, okay, for example, let's do learning session, and you now insist that there must be food, then there's no money. Don't let the lack of money now stop the training. Maybe instead of doing a 3-hour session or a half-day session or a full day, because really if you do a full day, that should be full, then do a 1 hour or 90-minute session. At least nobody will complain that there's no food in that context. In other words, what can you do irrespective, in spite of your limitation? How can we upskill? How can we reskill? And I say this very respectfully. Some of us, and this is just an example, you joined a ministry and you met somebody as a driver, as a cleaner. How, even personally, are you encouraged at this person? What's your qualification? School stats. Let me even see your WAEC results. Can you do open university? Can you do pre-degree? Can you do part-time, OND, degree, and so on and so forth? You see, you may not necessarily get the ministry to sponsor that person, but your words of encouragement, you can tell the person that, look, the first thing is, first of all, pick the form. Don't worry, even school fees you'll be paying small. It's not as if you will pay everything at once. Help them break things down to meaningful. Somebody say, but I have 3 children. say something like, what if you have 4 children? Now imagine you are the 4th child. Will you tell your 4th child not to go to school? So as you are trying to train your 3 children, then also try and upgrade yourself. What are you doing? You are uplifting the cleaner, the gate man, the driver. So there are some of these people, you will be shocked that they are very computer literate. When they have downtime, maybe they are not driving anybody or the car is faulty, you can give them additional support role and they can help in some clerical duties as the case may be. Very importantly, ladies and gentlemen, as HR, we must champion mindset reforms. You see, you can have a reform on paper, a beautiful document, but the attitude, you know, in HR, we talk about knowledge, we talk about skill, we talk about attitude. HR is also the shaper of that attitude. And I'm not talking about aspire to perspire. In management, motivation is not exciting people. Motivation is giving people a reason to change their behavior so that they can change their outcomes. Sometimes you may need to chastise people. Why are you always coming late? Come on, stop it. Then the person stops coming late. That's motivation. Motivation is both carrot and both stick. Sometimes you may need to stoop to conquer, to say, my brother, my sister, what's the problem? And then you listen to them. Maybe it's something you can arrange to help them get a transfer, that maybe where they are living is too far away. The transfer may not happen immediately. Or you can say, okay, what can we do in the interim? Oh, one of our colleagues comes from Mowe, asks this. Then you connect them to each other. And then this person begins to join that person from Mowe, reduces their transport costs, and then begin to come early. What am I saying? Sometimes we need to think outside the box. As HR, you should know all your staff. Where are they living? Maybe 3-4 people are even driving from the same axis. Link them together. Let them be carpooling. This one drives this week. This one drives next week. What have you done? You have reduced their cost of mobility. Am I saying something? Don't let us always focus on the government, the PAMSEC, the commissioner. There are things we can do only if we have the mindset that we don't need anybody's permission or consent. And they will show what make a difference. So as we reflect on this particular slide, in which of the rows above, so I have 3 rows here, 1, 2, 3, as you can see, strategic partner, culture shaper, change champion. Which of these 3 roles or new roles that we are transitioning to or that we are becoming more effective at are you most comfortable? Also, which of the 3 are you least comfortable? So you can say most comfortable, culture shaper, least comfortable, change champion. That's just hypothetical. You can drop your responses in the chat box. Which of these 3 roles? The 3 roles are strategic partner, culture shaper, and change champion. Which of them are you most comfortable right now, today? And which of them are you least comfortable? So you can see the 3 critical transformation I've shown here. This is just an overview, a recap of the last slide. Administrator to strategic partner, rule enforcer to culture shaper, bystander to change champion. There's a lot more we are doing and we can do, and we can also get others to do. Let's look at a few pillars of excellence for consideration. Strategic acumen and data-driven decision. One of the things that is imperative is that in government, we sit on a lot of data, whether we recognize it or not. Sometimes the data may be in different units or different departments, but with a good rapport and justification, you may be able to access some of this data. So you want us to move from just emotions and sentiment and intuition to evidence-based. And when we talk about evidence, evidence is not saying, oh, I believe. No. At the professional level, belief is a faith word. F-A-I-T-H. Evidence is a work word based on data, based on analysis. It doesn't have to be complex, rigorous Excel. No. Okay. If the data is not too large, or you can work and collaborate with some of your colleagues. They will be able to support you. So you want to use analytics for workforce planning and talent gaps. You want to be measuring, for example, the return on investment on training. You trained people last year. You trained people 2 years ago. You trained people 3 years ago. Before the training, what was the productivity or what was the level of waste? After the training, what is the increment in the productivity or what is the reduction in the level of waste? What gap did we identify? What opportunity were we trying to unlock? What challenge or constraints were we trying to mitigate? Are we together? So you can come up with your achievement. This was the problem. This was the HR solution. 22 people went for the training. 1 year later, this has increased. 1 year later, this has reduced. We even did train the trainer. And some of the people went on the training now also trained other people who could not physically go for the training, and so on and so forth. Again, in addition to strategic acumen and data-driven decisions, we're also looking at ethical leadership and integrity. In our own space, in our own corner, in our own territory, let us give value. Let's give value for the time. Let's give value for our internal customers. Let's give value for our what? External customers. As HR, how can we further entrench merit-based processes? First come, first serve. Okay, how do we rebuild or enhance public trust through exemplary conduct? And let me just mention this in passing. So I live around Yaba here. So I don't know if any of us on this call live around Yaba. At Sabo, there's this intersection. There's a particular woman, a civil servant, a yellow fever for that matter. Very cheerful. In fact, sometimes, and I've seen her, seeing children going to school, maybe the children, young boy, flying their school uniform. And she will still controlling traffic, help the young boy tuck in their shirt properly. I've seen her help a young boy lace her shoe. Now, is that in the job description of a traffic warder? Not at all. Can I shock you? This is one traffic warder I know that people driving, we slow down and give her money. Note, she doesn't beg for money. She's not raising her hands to say, please give me something. She's not trying to extort. One, she dresses so well. This, you see, if your son or daughter tells you today that I want to be a traffic warder in future, and that woman's picture comes to your mind, you will say approved. You are not going to say, of all the professions, why? She's doing that traffic warding like she was called from heaven to do it. Happy, cheerful, she looks very great. Ladies and gentlemen, talent management and development. How do we even attract the best brains to work for the government? Not people that are stranded, not people that are just connected. How do we pick people who have premium choices? For example, they could be in Canada, but they will still be with us. And then when people, for example, want to work in the public service, how do they make your own ministry, your own parastatal, a prime one? On a lighter note, please, ladies and gentlemen, you know, at the federal level, people typically, for example, would like to work in Central Bank of Nigeria or NNPC relative to some other ministries or parastatal on a lighter note. But I'm saying, on a professional note, people should be lobbying. What can you do as HR that people will say, oh, if you want to be top-notch, and I say this, I'm able to say it, at least I've noticed that generally speaking, the best doctors in Nigeria want to work for the government. Please, if I'm wrong, let me know on this call. The best doctors in Nigeria, if you call them and give them the option of a private hospital or a government hospital, which one do you think the doctors will choose? Yes, so they may not be doing private practice with the private hospital. But is it like that for every other profession? Does the best engineer with the best engineer like to work in a state practice versus does the best teacher. Do you understand? But what we are saying is, let us work so that that 22-year-old boy that is just finishing from University of Lagos, from Lagos State University, say, where do you want to work? They will not just mention civil service. They will mention the one you are serving because of some of the innovation, because of some of the impact and legacy you are contributing. And don't say this is far-fetched, because until you want to do something of that legacy status, you will not develop the courage and the embodiment to do more things. Again, we must enhance and improve our digital fluency, our human-centric approach. We want to champion, for example, as much as possible, as much as practicable, human resource information system, e-learning platforms, and so on and so forth. What we are using right now is technically an e-learning platform. Every one of us in our respective homes or wherever we are currently, maybe some of us in transit, and we are still learning. Let's become more comfortable and more familiar with AI. How can AI be used in your department, on the job? How can it help with your work, simplify some of your processes, help you brainstorm and generate ideas? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we won't be human resource practitioners if we don't talk about empathy and employee well-being. How do we foster a workforce that feels cared for, that feels heard? Ladies and gentlemen, on a serious but lighter note, how many of your colleagues do you know their house? Please, don't wait for people to be bereaved before you go and visit them. Again, it may not necessarily be in your job description, but sometimes you can do a schedule that every month I will visit 5 staff at home or somewhere, or get people to visit. Sometimes it can be, I will get the most senior person or the people who are the senior people in your ministry or parastatal. Just give them 5 staff to call every month, and they will just call. Hello, is this Olaitan Oladimeji? This is the PAMSEC establishment. How are you today? You will have given them a few information. How are your children? How is your husband? I just said I should say hello to you. Do you have any suggestion or comment for us in this ministry? Olaitan will feel elated that, wow, the PS called me. HR can make this kind of thing happen. Of course, don't tell them to go and call 200 people. It will now become a burden. I said something like 5 people. By the time they do that every month, so, and you have 3, 4, 5, 6 organs like that, you just allocate the people they will call, and you make sure that they call them. What are you doing? People will feel valued. When you have maybe something like town hall sessions, you let people speak in a way that, of course, people should speak respectfully, but their opinions are heard. And we provide feedback. Some of the things they've spoken around and about in the last trainings or in the last town hall sessions, what did we do about it? Still provide feedback. People can say, buy a car for everybody. Oh, sorry, the budget cannot accommodate it. That's a feedback. Feedback doesn't mean buy a car and you buy the car. You understand what I'm saying? But let people know that you process that thought and so on and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, your personal growth, your professional growth is going to be equal to our national growth. That's why we're having this session. I'm taking this very personal. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't pour from an empty cup. You need to be self-aware. You need to know your values, what triggers you, what are your strengths, where are your areas of what? Competence and dominance. Speak to your colleagues, your superiors, even your subordinates. That's a 360-degree evaluation. Get feedback. Let them identify and point to you possibly blind spots you may have. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to continually be emotionally intelligent. And that means, how do we navigate difficult conversations? How do you say the truth to power without being condescending or disrespectful? Ladies and gentlemen, how do you know when to refrain? How do we know when to hug? How do we know when to give gap? We need to practice active listening. so that we can even resolve conflict early. Sometimes it's not when everything people say that they mean, but when you have some appreciation of body language, you will ask that simple, honest question. How are you today? What does everybody say? Fine. But there are some fine. Even though you are busy, even though you are pressed for time, you can say, okay, can we quickly see around 12 after your meeting? Get in touch with your colleague. Your voice or your tone sounded somehow in the morning. You can confide in me or you can talk to me. Don't be afraid that they're going to ask you for transfer money, because some of us will say, the moment you ask people to talk to you, the next thing is they will be doing 5 bara. Ladies and gentlemen, don't let that get in the way. Okay? Lifelong learning. There are things we must continue to learn. Pursue certification. If you are still not yet a CIPM member, what are you waiting for? Every spirit of procrastination, fall down and you can complete it. Your professional development helps you. It lets you know what you know and also reinforce what you should know. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, we also must improve our ability to communicate. Many of us know a lot. We have information. We have experience. But some of us, we are shy. Maybe when you are talking to many people, you need to learn public speaking. They shouldn't call you to say, come and do a 15-minute seminar for the staff. Say, no, you too, you are Oga. Don't wait until you become head of service. In your own space now, whatever you can do to empower others, to showcase your talent, don't put your candle under the table. Of course, and when they give you any opportunity to speak or address issues like that, rehearse. See, I don't just come to a seminar or webinar like this and start talking. I ask questions. Who are the people who will be there? What should they know? I do research. I ask questions. Do mock. See, there's butterfly in everybody's stomach. And don't say, oh, I'm shy. I'm nervous. I lay sorrow. And then they'll put you on a committee. Or they'll be looking for some people to send on a training overseas, and your name will come up. Not everything that no, there are some things people recognize. My wife works with Lagos State Government. In about 20 years, the government has sent my wife to India for 3 months training. She's not a Lagosian. She's not sleeping with anybody. Do you understand? She's just diligent. She was Lagos State Resident Doctor of the Year, maybe 2006. Are we together? My mother-in-law of blessed memory, Mrs. Moria Faboya, she was Lagos State Nurse of the Year, 2016. Look, when you are excellent, you will shake the hand of the governor. When she retired, the very next day, they called her back to come and do contract before she passed on to glory. Look, some people may say your wala is too much, but it will count for you. It will speak for you. Ladies and gentlemen, okay, there's no time. If this was a physical class, I would have wanted to list maybe 3 personal behaviors or habits you need to upgrade to better serve the public interest. But Nigeria needs HR heroes, And let me say this very quickly, and I'm sure we know her. There's somebody that is a civil servant I respect, even though she's late now. Her name is Mrs. Dora Akiyele. I remember her story very well. In fact, in Lagos Business School, they use her as a case study, even in some schools abroad. I remember one of her stories, how she was supposed to go for a medical treatment abroad, and they gave her some money, and she did not need to do the surgery again, and she returned the money. Some people say, Ode, Mumu. The president had a story, President Obasanjo Olusegun. Guess what? That's why one of the reasons why she was made NAFDAC DG. Righteousness exalts people. Ladies and gentlemen, today if I ask you now, on a lighter note, that what's the name of the Director General of NAFDAC? How many of you know the woman? How many? Sincerely. Then, anybody in Nigeria knew the person that was in NAFDAC. She was that what effective, and she was a civil servant, and she had always been what? A civil servant. Please, what reforms can you put in place? Let people say, Popsi and Ijobani. Yes, my father is Ijoba. My mother is Ijoba. Look, don't forget, anybody in civil service, you must treat it as a sacred duty, like you're a pastor, like you're an imam. And I'm beating my chest. You will be rewarded handsomely. You won't lack any good thing. You may not have 20 cars, or you may not have 5 cars, or, but you will not lack mobility. Your children will not be what? Will not be stranded. HR is a calling. The fate of the state, of the nation, of the local government lies on you. And you can implement policies, processes, and strategies that will take us to the next level. The future of the Nigerian civil service will be shaped not just by ministers or laws, not by the president, not by the governor, but how boldly, please, you can quote me on this, how boldly HR professionals choose to go. See, what's the maximum a governor can do? 4 + 4, 8 years, Plubato. You can be there for 35 years, 30 years, depending on when you join the service. You are stable. You can add value. So, if we improve through the HR, the practices, the competence, the problem solving, the regulatory aspects, the innovation in public service, we will increase the quality of the lives of Nigerians. Ladies and gentlemen, some of the challenges you will need to overcome: excessive bureaucracy, sometimes resistance. You need to continue to identify skills shortage or skill gaps and help to remedy it. Maybe succession planning, train the trainer, internal training, job rotation, job shadowing. If you are creative and if you are willing, you'll be able to work with your stakeholders. You may have 10 ideas. I'm not saying they will approve or you'll be able to implement all the 10. But if you have 10, maybe 4 or 5 will scale through. If you have 20, maybe 8 or 9 will scale through. Sometimes there will be political pressure. Use the political pressure to do good. They want to give you people, no problem. Give them the minimum requirements for some specific role. I've never seen political pressure in my life that they needed a doctor and they didn't put somebody that read medicine. Do you get what I mean? What are the competencies? What are the skill sets? Even if a few will scale through, at least the majority, when you put your foot down politely and you provide reasoning and justification, they too will know that if they put a substandard, poorly qualified person, the government personnel may be the victim in the final analysis. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to continue to develop how to navigate the civil service landscape. You need to build bridges. You need to network. Let all the other leaders in other professions, okay, in the civil service, let earn their respect. Let them say, the way you dress, are you a banker? The way you speak, you are in a place, everybody is speaking vernacular. Speak English. Do you get it? Some people will say, at the empire saw you, bow tear down. Because not everybody in Lagos speaks Yoruba. Don't forget that Lagos is a global city. Be professional. People are waiting. It may not be your job. Go and meet them. Oh, you've been around for a while. Are you being attended to? Please, what's delaying these people? Customer service. Do you understand? Everything we expect from any global work organization, let's try and implement it. Let's try and celebrate people. Let's try and build coalition for change. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, I know there's a lot to say. I'll just keep it at some of these things. But you need to grow personally and professionally as a person. Self-awareness, emotional intelligence, embrace lifelong learning, That's why you're even here tonight. This is Sunday evening. You should be resting, you know, and you're here, strategic communication. Ladies and gentlemen, join professional network. You are in one right now. Stay active. Don't come once in 6 meetings. Every meeting, or as much as possible. Okay? Look out for long-term development goals. Don't settle for less. If you can do a master's, if you can do a PhD, it's better you have a PhD and you don't need it than you don't have it and you need it. It's better you do a master's and you don't need it than you need it and you don't have it. You just never know. Some of you will move from Lagos State and you'll move to ILO, International Labour Organization. Some of you will move to World Health Organization. Some of you will move to International Court of Justice. I know we are all in different. So think of your career that Lagos State may not be the end, that you will move to Geneva in Switzerland and you'll be supporting all the over 200 countries in the world. Will you be found wanting? Will you be found culpable? You know, you may be nominated, but when they interview you, will you fit the bill? That is our challenge. That is our call to action. Some of our resources, please, like the back of your hand, please read civil service procedures. It's a document to be familiar with public service rules. There are some things from the World Bank making civil service work report. You can check for it online and read it. Why am I dropping a World Bank report here? So that you are thinking globally and acting what? Locally. Embrace leadership. Okay, very important. Please, you should be on LinkedIn and let your LinkedIn profile. Don't say, I'm not looking for a job. From your LinkedIn, can they call you from World Bank? Some of us, what's the word now? Our LinkedIn or our CV is an understatement. You know, some of the beautiful jobs, projects, programs we've delivered, we can't even remember again. We don't document them and put them on their CV. CV is not for somebody looking for a job. CV is like a journal, a catalog of your contribution to society. I challenge us, Samas. Your CV this week, update it. Your profile, update it. It's not about, I'm not looking for a job. Get ready, get ready. You may get a call from the governor's office one day, from the secretary to the state government, that please put some people's profile together. I don't want today's session to just be an inspirational thought. No. But I have a feeling that today is the beginning of a brighter new era in our career journey. I hope I've been able to, you know, add some value. I hope I've been able to provoke some thoughts. And ultimately, I also hope you'll be willing to take action. If you're not following me on YouTube, please do. William Adeosh. And I'm available. I can come to your ministry and you can reach out to Dr. Bolabo Okudero. I'll come. Even for free, I'll come. Once the timing is right, it can be virtual, it can be physical. All right. Just to show my own commitment and support to you. Again, let me end by saying I thank every one of us. Because when we say civil service, you are serving us. Please, don't quit. Your reward is air and sure. At this intersection, I'm excited to hand over control to our moderator, Madam Olaiton Oladimeji. I'm open to take questions, comments, and contributions. Thank you so much. I yield the floor.
Thank you so much.